So the third game of the December 2005 LSAT tells us that in a repair facility there are exactly 6 technicians who are Stacy, Uma, Wim, Zena, Yolanda, and Zane. Each technician repairs machines of at least one of the following 3 types, which are radio, televisions, or VCRs, and no other types. The following conditions apply. All right, so right now the issue is, which are we going to use for our base? Are we going to use our technicians, or are we going to use these machines? Well, before we decide, let's take a look at our conditions, because it might help us decide on which one is going to be more useful as a base. So the first condition here tells us that Zena and exactly 3 other technicians repairs radios. So Zena is going to be repairing radio, and then we have 3 more radios. So right now it seems to be leaning towards using the machines as our base, because obviously we know now radio has 4 openings. But keep in mind that these machines can be repeated among these technicians. We only know that each technician repairs at least one of these machines. It's possible that they repair multiple machines, right? So still, let's hold off deciding on which base we're going to use. Turning our attention to our second rule, Yolanda repairs both televisions and VCRs. All right, so we know Yolanda is going to be repairing televisions, and Yolanda is going to be repairing VCRs. And then our third condition here tells us Stacy does not repair any type of machine that Yolanda repairs. And now you start noticing that it probably makes more sense to use the technicians here as our base, because these rules tend to deal with the technicians as opposed to the machines. So let's draw our setup. And again, we know that each of these technicians is going to repair at least one of these machines. Now let's just put in what we already know. Rule number 1 told us that X repairs radio, so we can put radio in X. We also know that we have 3 more radios that we need to place right now. So we're going to put those aside just so we keep track of them. The second rule told us that Yolanda is repairing televisions and VCRs. The third rule tells us that Stacy does not repair any type of machine that Yolanda repairs. Well, we know Yolanda is repairing televisions and VCRs, which means that the only possibility now for Stacy is going to be a radio. So we've placed one of our 3 other radios. Still, we have 2 left. And notice what that's going to do is that's going to seal off both Yolanda and Stacy, because they can't have any overlap. So turning my attention now to the fourth condition, it tells us Zane repairs more types of machines than Yolanda repairs. So we know Zane is going to have more than Yolanda. Well, Yolanda has 2, which means Zane is going to have all 3. So radio, television, and VCR. And obviously there's nothing left. Those are the only machines that Zane can repair. Zane is repairing all 3. And notice we've placed another one of our radios. So now we just have 1 remaining radio to place. Turning our attention to our 5th condition, Wim does not repair any type of machine that Stacy repairs. So again, telling us that Wim and Stacy have nothing in common here. And we know that Stacy is doing radio, which means Wim can't do radio. So Wim is going to be doing television and VCR, possibly both of them. And lastly, we know that Uma repairs exactly 2 types of machines, our final condition. So we know again here Uma is going to have 2 types of machines. And notice we have 1 radio left, and where can it go? Well, it can't be with Wim, can't be with Yolanda. So the only place for our remaining radio is going to be with Irma. And then the other machine Irma is going to repair is going to be television or VCR. And now that we've placed all 3 of our radios, we notice that we have come up with a very nice setup here. We know exactly what Stacy's doing. We don't know exactly what Irma's doing, but we know what one of them is. The other is going to be television or VCR. We know exactly what Yolanda's doing. We know exactly what Zane's doing. So now that we have our setup and our deductions, let's turn our attention to the questions.